Let's do a line reading. I want you to say, Dad, is it true? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Dad, is it true?
No, darling, no.
No.
One more time.
Okay.
Dad, is it true?
Dad, is it true?
No!
Ah, God, Jesus.
We're talking about Maestro, Bradley Cooper's Maestro. Long anticipated follow-up to A Star is Born. A Star is Born. Yes.
And we don't typically do reviews of new movies, but a friend of the podcast, Real for Real, did a review of it, and we were chatting back and forth in the comments, and he said he'd like our opinion. Well, I took that seriously. So we watched it. We had a little bit of downtime today, which doesn't usually happen. So why not spend it on cinema?
Time well spent, I say, because I love this movie.
I thought it was good.
I think it's better than A Star is Born. I think might be my favorite movie of the year. I still have Oppenheimer #1, but I was kind of blown away by this movie.
Wow, I did not expect you to say that.
I loved A Star is Born when we saw it, but since then I think every time I've thought about it, like Star is Born, jack off motion.
Wow. Okay. That movie will always give a twinge to my heart. I was not okay after that movie. I think it sent me back to therapy. You know that. You know I was different for months after seeing A Star is Born. So maybe just the subject matter was too real. It all felt very... I mean, Bradley Cooper is clearly gifted at playing complicated, flawed men.
Yeah, and maybe it's maybe find a different subject matter for your third movie.
Please.
But you are good at this. But it's his skill as a director is just intimate moments with people, with lovers, that you just don't see scenes like.
That's true.
Like in A Star is Born and like this, when they're laying on the ground talking about how he says, I wish I was your fart. Like you just don't see stuff like that in movies.
And I'm gonna cry because, God damn it, Bradley Cooper, you sadistic son of a bitch. I had multiples, not in a good way. I cried for it, not since Terms of Endearment. Do I remember prolonged touching scenes, because it's not just one. Oh, you have this disease. Oh, you've coughed in bed. Oh, you've died. He brings you on a journey. It is so freaking personal.
Well, I was thinking of Terms of Endearment too, because I think Terms of Endearment gets dismissed as like weepy melodrama, but like what it's good at and what this movie's good at is like the cruelty of the passage of time. It's cutting ahead and suddenly it's later in the illness. Now it's later in the illness, and just how like cruel that seems, and how this diagnosis has brought like clarity and focus to this family. Finally, we can be present with each other and really love each other in a way we weren't able to. How cruel it is that it's going to be snatched away.
Okay, but I mean, I this movie's really good at showing what a happy family happy, that's a dumb word to describe a family. They are close, and especially the daughter and the mother. I love their relationship. I love that the daughter's not like trying to be on both of their sides. No, she's just like, no, fuck dad right now. I'm in a fuck dad mode,
Yeah.
but in a sweet way. I don't know. They're all just also, I did really enjoy and so those parts, the mom snapping at the daughter, trying to help her, the mom being so sick of being sick, then mad at herself for spending any of the time.
Yeah, a lot of like crying and I'm sorry. Every like noise I make. I'm sorry. Like I'm in pain. I'm sorry. I'm saying these are things that it is observing that I'm like, I just don't feel like I see that. And that is so much a part of life.
Just I don't want to spend any time mad at you. I love you. Thanks for hugging me. Not, you're pulling my hair. Well, that's a bad joke because you didn't have any. But
so
I don't think a movie that makes me cry this much can be bad. Like it's doing something.
No, what else did you like about it? I mean, it's the story of Leonard Bernstein, the composer and conductor. Bradley Cooper plays him. He meets and falls in love with an actress, Felicia Montelegre, played by Carey Mulligan. Carey Mulligan is top billed in this movie over Bradley Cooper. Interesting. Now, I would say the movie is about her more than it is about him.
Yeah.
And it's about the difficulty of being with somebody who is a genius, but also
and who sucks
the difficulty of...
Who sucks all the focus to himself. He can't help it. Maybe he even deserves it, but it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the second movie in a row, Bradley. I mean, there seems to be some autobiographical stuff going on here for him to relate to these characters so much. The damage he does to the women he loves, these characters do. He just got to dissect it in this one.
Yeah. Even when, as we see here, she knows him and knows that he
Yeah.
has affairs with men, that he's bisexual, and she accepts that. But it's the interesting thing of like, yeah, I did accept it. I didn't know how hard it would be to live with you for so long and that be a part of our lives, and how that would make me feel. And maybe the way I feel about it changes over time.
Yeah, I did learn that this is a movie that was kind of guided a bit, or at least approved by the children, and it's interesting. They clearly had the closer relationship to the mom, and that's obvious because she's the one capable of having really intimate, close connections. That makes sense. And for it to be kind of more through her eyes makes a lot of sense when you think of it that way, because I'm sure a lot of these intimate, like that very specific song that I've never heard, but it seems like it would have been exactly the kind of pop, weird, dance, silly song, the one where they're slap, slap. I don't know. It sounded like the love. I don't know. Anyway, all those little details seem like stories that the kids would have just, but things they would have been privy to.
But I don't feel like this is a hagiography. This isn't like a worshipful, I mean, it is, it's an authorized biography. It is not saying he was a great person. It is,
No.
it is honest about how messy he was and about how messy she was. And they both have this, like, they're always performing. Even when they're alone, they're performing for each other.
The quick
And
wit.
then, and she's an actress, and she kind of has this Katharine Hepburn sort of delivery.
Yes.
And then seems to kind of get tired of that. And like, I just want to be a person.
Right. Like, I'm sick of trying to charm you. I'll never be enough. I've already tried being a whole lot, and it still doesn't keep you with me.
And he can't, because he needs constant stimuli. He needs people around him at all times.
He shits with the door open.
He's like Jesse Pinkman when he has to pay all his friends with drugs and pizza to keep a party going in his house the whole time.
Right.
Because he shot Gail. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
So what this movie and What a Star is Born do so well is show like the ecstatic joy of like artistic achievement, of the power of music. And then after that, what happens after that? Like, how do you keep living? How do you go from, such a high to just being
Life.
normal with each other and being a father and like trying to be a partner?
And you can see him trying to kind of relive peaks and kind of not supernaturally, artificially heighten his senses through his consistent drug use. It's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a movie show you drug use periodically throughout someone's life without it being the thing about them.
Love that.
I thought that was so interesting. I mean, he's clearly on like Molly or ecstasy or whatever you would have been calling it when he's dancing with his student at that random rave scene at the very end of his life, maybe 3 years before he dies. Still seeking those highs, and still having just I mean, he was having fun.
Mm-hmm.
He has a joy for being with people, and
and so that's great. How do you live with someone like that who is insufferable?
right? And
But also you love him, and that's also why you love him, but also you
Right.
want to kill him. And she has a little bit of that too, because again, she is a performer. She is they're always just
takes one to know
doing
one.
their games with each other. Lots of filmmakers like to do their own Citizen Kane, and there's tons of, in the early sequences that are in black and white, there's so many Citizen Kane homages with the deep focus, just long takes, long
Huge
shots.
room.
Characters having important conversations, but you're like 30 feet away and they're obscured by a fence. This is very interestingly shot. I guess I just really like him as a director, which I'm loath to admit, but he's got
Right. How dare you be a quadruple threat?
which is why he relates to Bradley to Bernstein, because he's
He
like
is the maestro.
Bernstein's like, well, I'm a conductor and a composer, and those are two very different, things. One is solitary, one is the thing I find more fulfillment out of and think is more important, which is composing music. But you do that alone, and it's hard, and it's lonely, and it takes so much out of you.
Here's where I'm going to be bummed out as hell. This movie was moving and it was awesome. Best movie I've seen in a long time. But he's including in the story, but also just kind of breezing along through it. It doesn't ever seem to be pointed out that he's clearly having sexual relationships with multiple people. He's training. They seem to be students at times. They at least are in the orchestra. He's got power over them. And it's just interesting that you've got a story like Tar, where the entire movie is about her genius and her flaw of wanting to have sex with her proteges, and that she's a woman, and that ends up being her downfall. Or like, it's a movie about that.
Yeah.
And this guy, sure, he was brilliant, fine, but this movie didn't end up being about that. And I not that it needed to be, but it does seem like, what are the odds that there will be two big things made about this man? So how nice to be a dude.
But that's not the movie's fault. I mean, the story it wants to tell is about the extreme difficulty of being creative and of living with someone creative and of trying to make a very unconventional thing work where your life is mostly lived in the spotlight. Yeah, it could have been about those things too, but I admire the focus. I admire that this isn't a biopic. When I heard, like, Spielberg was originally attached to this movie, that he was going to make a Leonard Bernstein movie. And I thought, please don't. I'm so sick of biopics. I'm especially sick of musician biopics. I don't need them anymore. But this is not that. Like, this isn't like a list of his achievements. And this, now I learned. Now, next I went on to compose On the Town or whatever. It is. Yeah. It is more about the downtime.
And so is A Star Is Born. And that's what's really, you're right. At the end of it, I was like, I'm not even sure I know what was so special about him in the composing world. They didn't show award shows. They weren't, there weren't people like, everyone was just like, oh, he's brilliant, but look, he's such a handful. It's really kind of the behind the scenes of the people who know him best, of like, oh, there goes Lenny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's truly unique. I will definitely keep watching any Bradley Cooper movie that he puts out. But I give him one more. Well, I give you one more chance. I don't need 10 minutes of crying, dude. I don't need it.
It's always but he has at least earned the his track record shows, like, if he decides he wants to make a movie, even if you think you don't want it, once you watch it, you'll realize that I guess I did want that. Same with when Spielberg was going to direct a remake of West Side Story, whose music is by Leonard Bernstein. I thought, don't do that. I don't want that at all. But I love that movie.
Wait, are we talking about Bradley Cooper or Bernstein?
Spielberg and Cooper, and directors who make enough good movies that you realize, like,
I should just trust you.
I'm just going to trust you. You know what movie you want to make, and that's what I want to see is the one you want to make. I like that. This has this in common with Oppenheimer. No title cards about what year you're in.
Yeah.
Nothing helpful at all. Yeah.
Go with his tan and his wrinkles, like a tree.
You do. Wikipedia's there for you for that.
All right, you figure it out. I already did this whole movie. Don't make me do everything. The timing makes me a little suspect. I mean, it would have been up for awards no matter what, right? But like, maybe this is just when you release something like this. But it felt very like Oscar.
The only reason that movies like this get made is just to make because, like, people aren't going to go see this. It's only made so that it can win Oscars.
There wasn't a theatrical release?
There was, but it was pretty short. And I don't think that if you'd done the wide release like you'd done with A Star Is Born, like A Star Is Born was a giant hit. This wasn't going to be.
Right.
And I also thought it was Oscar bait until I watched it. The Oscars aren't going to like this. I mean, they'll like his performance
acting?
and the transformation, but this is a weird movie. There's weird flights of fancy. There's magical realism. There's musical numbers that spontaneously happen where you don't know what you're looking at is real or is just the character's feelings.
True.
But the Oscars love, the Wikipedia of the movie of tell me everything important that this person did. And and
they didn't do that.
And I want a character to stand in the background and like, don't you realize how important Leonard Bernstein is? He went from conducting the Philharmonic to writing West Side Story. That's what they want.
Well, I mean, just the learning how to play piano so well, like to have the tight shots of him doing it. There weren't a ton of them, but the physical aspect of it, what the character does, it just feels very. Give that man an Oscar. Has he won anything before?
No, and he's not going to for this, I don't think. But he'll probably get nominated.
It looked painful to make.
Yeah. Now, hey, how about make a movie that doesn't make me cry for 20 minutes?
That's what I'm saying.
How about, like, don't try to kill yourself to get into a role. Don't work for 5 years to learn how to lower the register of your voice to play Jackson Maine.
Right. I don't need. That's another thing. Bradley Cooper, you might be an angel, but like, I don't know that I want a biopic of you, of how tortured you were.
Yeah, how about just act, dude? Pretend.
Enjoy your life.
Play make-believe.
How about you do some of what these characters are doing and have some downtime? If it takes you 4 years to make another movie, I don't want to find out that's because you were fucking trying to make the movie the whole time.
Yeah, make a romantic comedy.
Are you Tool? Huh?
He's kind of the Tool.
He's Maynard.
Of director actors.
He's the Maynard. Isn't that the name of the
Maynard
guy? The
James
lead singer
Keenan, yeah.
Of Tool. Okay, thanks.
He is like Tool because Maynard on stage does not stand in the middle of the stage. He hides in the background.
Or
like Bradley Cooper. My leading lady can have top billing even though it's my movie. It's Bradley.
I feel like I don't necessarily know that character, but maybe, as far as like making me feel something for that family, I do.
No, but okay, what it is about maybe more than anything is just you can't know somebody. Impenetrability. You can't know somebody like that.
That's a great way to frame it. And in fact, the longing shots, the shots from them far away, from them walking away from each other, from those quick check-ins of like, hey, am I in super trouble or just a little bit in trouble? Okay, I'm kind of okay.
Yeah,
all right, bye. I'm gonna go fuck the guy with the long hair. They're so relatable. These like, I know that you're upset, but like, how much? Because I had a whole weekend planned, and this to be a person probably not treated for ADHD, probably not treated for half the shit he needed to be, and to need constant stimulation, it's torture.
But
I'm sure.
also, what if he was treated for those things and wasn't able to do
that's okay.
the things he was able to do?
He had later in life being treated for those things and then being a good there around.
Later in life, yes.
Yeah. Once you got the kids, now it's time to go get some treatment, buddy. You're hyper as fuck.